2025, or should I say 1989? Oh, that's a Taylor Swift album. Okay, never mind. 2025, or should I say 1984? Because instead of telescreens, we have cookies, which are a scam because I always accept them and never get them. And instead of the thought police, we have cancel culture. Many people nowadays think we live in a state of constant surveillance and repression, one similar to what Orwell portrays in his novel. But is it true? Curiously, another popular belief is that regardless of your political view, this book will be against your enemies. For instance, communists think this book is against capitalists, and capitalists think this book is against communism. But is it objectively true? Or like in this story, is truth stained by made up biases? Warning. This video contains the kind of spoilers that will get you to read this book, and also some hard to swallow reality pills. So buckle up and let's uncover the truth of 1984. First, I want to talk about the party because it works like a business. And don't get me wrong, I know that businesses work to generate more wealth. And it's clear that the party's aim is not to generate wealth because the people in Oceania live, well, their living conditions are not the best. However, the party seems to have a different goal. So which one is it? Well, it's power, in case you didn't know. We know the party seeks power for the sake of it. They just want power. Money and glory. Anyway, but seeking power for the sake of it, isn't it a bit counterproductive? Like, just imagine it's 2050 and everyone's brainwashed and no one dares to even think. Therefore, the party, like, what do they do in their meetings? They play Candy Crush or something? Let's be honest, the party enjoys torturing people till they lose themselves to the party. They enjoy the process rather than the goal itself, you know? Which is a bit absurd to have a world where no one would be against the party because the party would have nothing to do. And when I say that nobody's against them, I mean the citizens of Oceania because the perpetual war, they need, to be in a perpetual war with East Asia and Eurasia because if not, they don't have the something to put the rage of the citizens to, and the credibility. Because if the hate of the citizens is not directed towards an enemy, the ideals of the party would crumble. And as in any good business, the party looks for automatization. Or in other words, it wants the citizens to do their job. So it's also counterproductive. Like, what will the party do when everyone's just brainwashed? Is the party's goal to become boring and do nothing? I don't know. This is like some food for thought. And to find out how much Orwell's dystopia resembles our reality, I did what I know best, which is making others do my work. Or in other words, I just asked a couple of my friends who had read the book what they think about it, and the parts of the book that are similar to today. And together we got to some quite interesting conclusions. Firstly, I don't think I'm the only one who thinks media outlets no longer aim to educate us, but to entertain us and create an echo chamber of hate and rage. Like in our hands, we have the power to look for anything we want to. Yet we spend copious amounts of times on TikTok and fighting on Twitter, which yeah, I'm guilty of it. And it's pointless for me to say that it's because people are unaware of what's going on and also unaware of the biases media companies have engineered because yeah, it's not luck. We all know this. A friend of mine is stressed about the importance of being aware that we're giving all our data. Like our private conversations on WhatsApp are not that private. Like they can easily look them up. Like the digital footprint, everyone's aware that someone could easily enter into our chats, which is not that different to letters being opened. And if the awareness of the problem is not powerful enough to make us a change, I think it's worth analyzing why. In the novel, The lower class, the proles, are fed with meaningless pieces of information and media like music, books, and yeah, that's it. I don't know, more pieces of media. And those pieces of literature and lyrics are made up by the party and they are developed with a lack of depth on purpose to keep them shut and dumb by only providing them meaningless entertainment. How could they rebel against the party if the only thing they had in mind was the latest stupid song? Like, how can you expect someone to think critically about the issues in their country when they spend 9 hours a day on TikTok? And let me tell you something, you remember nothing when you spend that much time on that platform. I know it because I've been there. And don't get me wrong, I'm not claiming the existence of an elite who's actively making us dumber in order to control us for the sake of power. But perhaps we are self inflicting our prole state. Prole in the sense of blinded rather than just poor. Okay? And as I've previously mentioned, most of us are aware of how much time we waste on these things. Yet, they win us over and over again. There's something extremely hooking in not having to think. You scroll and you find 20 different solutions to an issue you didn't even know you had, but you had it. It's not only entertaining, but it makes us want it more. People do more of what they like, and if we're provided with a cocktail of media perfectly engineered to our liking, we're gonna spend many hours a day on that. We'll become hooked like hamsters to their will, but we'll never find true fulfillment because our issues don't intrinsically get solved. We're just setting them aside. And so, rage and hatred become our default emotions. Because most pieces of information nowadays are glued to misinformed complaints that blur our critical thinking. And that, my darlings, is what the party does to the people. While reading the novel, I realized that if we don't set a time to sit with our thoughts and validate our opinions, we'll end up like Winston. Our brains would become hazed by the amount of spread nonsense. Just like the protagonist towards the end of the story, we'll become deranged prisoners without a moment to just think in private. We open our telescreens whenever we're bored, therefore, we don't think. From the moment we wake up till the moment we go to bed, our hands are glued to our phones. And in them, there's so much information flooding our brains that we cannot even make a sensible decision anymore. While I was reading the novel, I annotated. It is in our private moments when we validate our opinions and reflect on our sense of self. And if we don't possess this privacy, we lack the time to be with ourselves and clear our thoughts. And if our thoughts are not cleared, we'll follow the crowds without even questioning, which is something Orwell stresses all throughout his life. The party is like a toxic partner. It is worth mentioning how the party does not only control every move of Winston's life, but also withdraws care and respect towards him. And inflicting such pain and disdain towards him sends Winston into a spiral of madness that completely alters his brain chemistry. That's why he becomes mad. But later, the party comes with care, so he becomes even more mad. Cleaning him up, giving him food and clothes with all the respect of a comrade. Like, he's no longer this repulsive piece of shit. He's a comrade again. Like, towards the end of the book, O'Brien always is always stressing how he is here to help and save our protagonist from himself. Once O'Brien comes to save our protagonist from physical and mental starvation, it is in this cycle of destruction and care that transforms Winston into a devoted follower of the party. His actions, head and heart, are faithfully aligned with the big brother. A friend of mine also stressed about the collective subconscious, which is a part of our nature. Humanity has survived because of it. We humans have guidelines on the roles we ought to take in society in order to keep the harmony of our way of living, to ensure the survival of our species. Nonetheless, our minds today hold more agency than ever. Our world is filled with alternatives and new information. Everybody has a different opinion on the same topic, and in a sense, it's quite beautiful. But there's a problem. We don't tend to communicate with all due respect, and we are inclined towards information that validate our own pre-existing beliefs, which is a confirmation bias. This leaves us with no actual tools to debate accurately. And that's one of the many reasons why everyone's against each other. We project this need of always being on guard in all our relationships, feeding into the it's me against the world narrative that only reinforces our alienation and lack of connection with the world. Oh my god, we're living in 1984. No, we're not. You're just predisposed to look into the similarities of your life whenever you're consuming a type of media. It's the same experience when you're listening into a song and you find yourself doing mental gymnastics to relate to it. And the previously mentioned confirmation bias is the one to blame here. There's just too much alarming noise in our life to see it, and also you need to know what the confirmation bias is to actually know what power has in our lives. The more distracted we are, the less we think. The less we think, the less human we are. That's a quote along the lines of something that Orwell said once. And I just made it mine. Certainly, the times in my life where I felt the most frustrated were the ones where I lacked control over my thoughts. And curiously, those were the times where I used to not think about what was going on in my life, but rather I was blaming my circumstances on a surface level, which was really counterproductive, guys. By only listening uncritically, you'll just get lost, believe me, because you get to a point where you don't know who's the person talking inside of your head. And you need to be the person talking inside of your mind. You must be the narrator, not someone whose judgment you rationally fear. So I want to end this video with a note of hope, because many highly intelligent people have given their insights, especially in the political criticism that the book offers. However, I aim to focus on you. I aim to focus on the individuals because as a psychology major, well, I'm getting there. Um, I'm interested in what I'm interested, and I'm interested in how people work. This book is, of course, not self help. It's a novel, but I believe that you can learn a lot more from books like this to understand how the human brain works and how you can just take some hints and become better. It's really interesting to see how an individual can change depending on the circumstances they are subjected to and the lens to what people can drive you crazy and how small factors can alter your reality. And most importantly, to be aware of how the world biases us, and novels like this helps you a lot to understand it. So if you've enjoyed this video, I highly encourage you to read the book. It's a classic. Um it's not really long. It's not difficult to understand because we cannot do experiments on people to see how our brains function, which is sad, but at the same time it's just, ethically correct to not do it. But we can read about it to learn about others and ourselves. I hope you have an amazing day.